Hello everyone, welcome back to another UK film review video review. My name is James Leroyd and today I will be talking about a new feature film called Cutaways, directed by Mark Schwab. This is a film that's going to be available on Amazon Prime Video very soon, and it's a strange one. It's an unusual kind of movie, but it is basically takes place in the space of a day, and tells the story of a film director who, after being sort of in a way outcast from mainstream cinema, for reasons that we don't really get to for a while in the film. He is producing pornography, and in a day we sort of see him filming a porn production with two guys, and in this day things take twists and turns that you may not be anticipating. There's a massive shift halfway through when a huge and unexpected event takes place, and then things get sort of stranger from there. What the film's really about are kind of lines being crossed. What is art? How does that apply to pornography? And, it's about power dynamics between the filmmakers and the subjects of the film. It's a fascinating film, really, for what it's about. From the descriptions I had read beforehand of the film, before going in, I was very doubtful, and I was like, oh god, what is this? Like, the descriptions all seem to be focused on ideas relating to, like, cancel culture, and, just really honing in on that, and I think that's completely wrong, because this film is not really about that at all. It's those elements of it just come into sort of relevancy in one or two lines towards the end, more as general backstory than actually what the film is about. And what the film's about is just this day, how the production is transpiring, and the lines that are being crossed, the sort of strange dynamics between director and actor that are at play. And there's lots to speak about Cutaways. I think the easiest place to start and deconstruct is the technical, because this is a well-shot movie, and in terms of the sound, it's a really well-captured movie. There's a clarity to everything, basically. That's the real positive. And through the technical, you can also identify a real sense of production value. This is not a sort of shoestring production, and if it is, they've disguised that really well, because they've shot on some really nice bespoke lenses, some really high-end equipment in that way, just purely in terms of the formatting. This is just, a crystal clear film. It's well lit, almost a little too well lit, I would argue. I would like a little bit more messiness, some shadows, things like that, but still the skill on display in terms of the cinematography is absolutely undeniable, I would say. Really well shot movie. And the sound recording is pretty damn perfect as well. And just continuing on from that discussion of production value and budgeting, I guess the only thing you can identify about the film of it having a relatively low budget is the fact that it takes place in one space over the course of a day. But then again, that's also a strength of the film, and a strength of the film's story and narrative trajectory, is that it takes place in this one space. That's a real strength of the film. undeniably. I would say the reason it's a strength is because we get to know these characters. Everything feels a little bit more natural when we know that time is just kind of taking place in front of us. The chronology is not broken up. We're just watching behaviour, and so the behaviour becomes more, we can perceive more in the nuances of everyone's behaviour. So the fact that it takes place in one day is a real strength for the film, definitely. I would say the only problem with that, though, is that some of the comedy does not work. I don't think this film is a particularly great comedy, despite the fact that it has some, what they're trying to be, sort of extreme moments of comedy. But all the dramatic stuff does work really well. Another slight complaint I should probably address is something that a complaint I have with a lot of recent independent films, which is a mixture of performance tones, let's call it. And what I'm really addressing is that the protagonist and his demeanour does not always flow's a significant word in the film, flow with the other actors in the scene. His demeanour is very Jack Nicholson. He is just completely sporadic, and he's got a lot of eyebrows going, and his vocal expression is very over the top, but then suddenly, sometimes it goes subdued, and it's more. I think it's overall a pretty good performance. It's simply that, in comparison to the rest of the actors, they seem to be in a slightly different tone of film. And I would say that that's a slight problem. Again, this is not necessarily any of the actors' fault at all. A director, it's also a director's job to address these kind of things, practice this mixture of tones. But anyway, it's not disastrous in any way. I kind of enjoyed basically most of the performances a lot. You kind of can't take your eyes away from them because they are so interesting, and everyone's clearly devoted to their characters. In terms of a general audience perspective, if you're a bit prudish about films that depict the production of pornography, or films that are sort of introspective about that, this isn't the film for you. That sort of goes without saying. But I would say a quite an admirable line this film toes is the fact that the themes that are being explored are very audacious and very transgressive in terms of what you're going to be making a drama about. I think it's good. And yet it's not all out pornographic. There's nudity in the film, obviously, but this film can't be considered in any way even mildly pornographic, or maybe vaguely pornographic, but and that's not a good or bad thing. Many films have been made that are really well-made films that include pornographic elements in them. This is not one of those films. Clearly they want to reach a wider audience. I do think they're gonna have a hard time doing that because of just the nature of what the film's about. This film, I don't think, is necessarily really going to get into cinemas, or if it is, a very, very limited release. As I say, it has an Amazon Prime release very, very soon, which I think is a positive thing, and I think that it will reach an audience, those who want to seek it out. I think it's a very well-made movie. I would have maybe liked the filmmaker to deconstruct a little bit further the nuances and complexities of the porn industry and the uncomfortable lines that are crossed. I mean, right, towards the end, they really get into it, but I would almost say it's slightly too heavy-handed. They really, any point they want to make, they do really make that point. However, there's no kind of... I want more sort of moral... these sort of vague moral grey areas that more sort of seep in. There was a film recently called Pleasure, I think it's called, about the porn industry, which is very unsettling, but also not in any way moralistic. And I think that's maybe what I lacked a little bit in this film. But nevertheless, an engaging film, and has a lot of intriguing things going on. At the halfway mark, when something massive and disastrous happens, another slight complaint would be that actually doesn't really come into the film like later in the plot. It doesn't have a resolution, conventionally speaking. It's more something that happens that changes the way the characters approach this production. It's not so much a thing that has like a thematic resonance to it, let's say. But yeah, that's the only other complaint I have. And yeah, I found this film a very intriguing watch.